Well, what I've said is I don't believe that we've had enough jobs created and industrial benefits done out of the F-35 contract. I think it's not enough.
Canada this week to in part pitch Saab's Gripen fighter jet is now heading home, with the Fed still weighing whether to pull out of a planned purchase of dozens of American-made F-35.
Portugal's fighter jet decision has suddenly become one of the most talked about defense shifts inside NATO. What was once expected to be a routine purchase of the American-built Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II has now turned into a strategic pivot toward the Saab JAS-39 Gripen E, and the reasons go far beyond price tags. For decades, Portugal's Air Force has relied on aging F-16A and F-16B aircraft. These jets have served well, but structural fatigue, rising maintenance costs, and outdated avionics make replacement unavoidable. Initially, the F-35 looked like the natural successor. Discussions had advanced, financing models were explored, and Portuguese officials visited U.S. facilities. On paper, the transition appeared smooth. Following renewed tensions between Washington and Ottawa, particularly public pressure directed at Canada over defense cooperation and procurement choices, Lisbon began reassessing long-term risk. The concern wasn't about the F-35's capability. It remains one of the most advanced stealth fighters in the world. The issue was dependency. The F-35 operates within a tightly controlled U.S.-managed ecosystem. Software updates, mission data files, spare parts pipelines, and export approvals are all governed by American regulations. In stable diplomatic conditions, that system works efficiently. But if political disputes arise, that interdependence could become leverage. Portuguese officials reportedly began quantifying what they viewed as political conditionality. If a close U.S. ally like Canada could face procurement pressure, Lisbon had to consider whether similar vulnerability might exist for smaller NATO members. The calculation became less about ideology and more about operational sovereignty. That's where Saab's Gripen E entered the conversation. The Gripen E was designed with modularity, simplified maintenance, and cost efficiency in mind. Saab advertises operating costs significantly lower than those often cited for the F-35. Over a 30-year service life, that gap could translate into billions in savings, money that can be redirected toward training hours, weapons stockpiles, or other modernization efforts. More importantly for Lisbon, the Gripen structure offers greater flexibility. Maintenance and support networks rely heavily on European supply chains. Software control is less centralized under U.S. oversight. That reduces exposure to potential export restrictions or political friction. Portugal is reportedly considering a fleet of 18 to 24 aircraft, with deliveries aligned to the retirement timeline of its F-16s. The estimated program cost ranges between €2.50 and €3 billion, including training, simulators, and infrastructure upgrades. Portugal is not a peripheral NATO member. It is one of the alliance's founding signatories. When such a country steps away from the F-35 after seriously evaluating it, other European capitals take notice. Spain, which coordinates closely with Lisbon on air defense matters, faces its own replacement decisions. Germany and Italy continue to debate fleet compositions and long-term defense autonomy. France has long argued for stronger European strategic independence. Portugal's move reinforces a broader trend: diversification as risk management. For Lockheed Martin, the loss of a few dozen aircraft will not threaten the overall F-35 program. But the symbolic impact matters. Defense exports are not just commercial deals. They bind allies together through shared logistics, training systems, and long-term dependency. When an ally signals concern about political leverage, it highlights a deeper trust conversation inside the alliance. In the end, Portugal's pivot is not a rejection of NATO or the United States. It is a recalibration. The F-35 may lead in stealth and sensor fusion, but Lisbon's final equation placed reliability, affordability, and sovereign control at the center of its strategy. And in today's volatile geopolitical climate, those factors may prove just as decisive as raw capability. Thanks for watching Scharlet Drive, and see you next time. Share your experiences and opinions in the comments below. If you found this discussion enlightening, don't forget to subscribe to Scharlet Drive for the latest news and insights.